everybody. Today we're in Chapter 5, which deals with motivating behavior. Now, as I'll mention in the slides, motivating behavior deals with the world of psychology and social sciences. What makes a person do what they do? Why are you here trying to take this class? What's your motivation for it? Are you here to learn about behavior, or are you here for a higher purpose, and that's to get a degree? We're all motivated at different times by different things. So the workplace is a prime example of that. So in order to understand how you can increase performance, we need to understand what motivates people in the first place, and that's what this chapter deals with. So let's go ahead and get started with Chapter 5, Motivating Behavior. Okay, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be in Chapter 5, which is dealing with motivating behavior. And when we look at motivation, we're looking at the field primarily of psychology and social sciences. So here you're dealing with people, what makes them do the things that they do. Why is it that you have some who are motivated to do a good job and others, it just seems like they're there to draw a paycheck? So these examples are really under the umbrella of motivation, and motivation is under the field of psychology. So let's go ahead and take a look at what motivates behavior. Now, the nature of motivation. Motivation is the set of forces that leads people to behave in particular ways. For instance, what's motivating you to take this class? You're not just here to learn about business. You're here for a purpose, and that purpose motivates you. Now, there's a formula for motivation, and really the way that it is described, or the way that it is quantified, is performance is equal to motivation plus ability plus environment. So if I have a motivation towards something, and I believe I have an ability to accomplish whatever task I want, and I have an environment that encourages and fosters motivation and so forth, that's when I'm going to get productivity or performance, and that's what we're looking for. But it takes a combination of these three: motivation, ability, and environment, to foster that type of performance that you're looking for. Now, Figure 5.1 talks about the motivational framework, and it starts with some type of need deficiency. Something is going on that you are not able to accomplish, that you want to accomplish. There's something that you want that you don't have, and essentially what you have is the state that you are in and the state that you want to be in. And where you at, or in between where you are at and where you want to be, is a gap. And that gap needs to be filled. It needs to be crossed, and motivation helps to do that. So when you realize that you have a need deficiency, you're going to search for ways to satisfy that need. And then you're going to choose from the way that you have decided that you need to satisfy that need. You're going to engage in behaviors that are going to fulfill that end. And then you're going to enact or use a behavioral choice, which is the performance. And from that, you'll either be encouraged or discouraged through rewards or punishment. And then afterwards, you reassess your needs deficiency. Now, if you have completed all of this and you have discovered that the action that you chose to engage in resulted in rewards or the payoff that you wanted, then you're not going to have a need deficiency anymore. But what if you still have a deficiency? Then you go right back here and start all over again. So this is what the motivational framework is all about. You have a deficiency right now. That means you don't have a degree, but you want a degree. So you're going to search, or you have searched for ways to get a degree. So Mid-America is an institution that grants degrees. So you have made your choice to come to Mid-America, and to get that degree at Mid-America, you're going to have to go to classes, and you have a curriculum that is laid out for you. You're going to have to take so many classes in this and this and this area. So you're going to go ahead and perform as a student. And hopefully you'll pass everything and you'll be rewarded. And then after you get your degree, you should not have a deficiency unless you want to continue with your education. So let's say you've got your associate's degree. So now you experience a deficiency in education because you don't have a bachelor's degree. So you'll go around and around again through this framework, and until those needs or those deficiencies are satisfied, you'll continue along the same pattern. Now, this is just what we've talked about with the motivational framework. You have the need, which is what you want. Need deficiency, that's what needs to be satisfied. Goal-directed behaviors, and that you're trying to satisfy it. Rewards and punishments are the consequences of your behaviors, and then you reassess to see if you have accomplished everything or if there's still a needs deficiency there. Now, the historical perspectives on motivation, let me go ahead and just put those up there. The traditional approach, posited by Frederick Taylor in Scientific Management, just assumed that people were motivated by money. All I have to do is just pay them and they'll do what I want them to do. Now, Frederick Taylor has been the really known as the father of the scientific management approach. Some say that he revolutionized business, and he was able to get it off the ground and start the practice of researching business processes and models and behavior. But Taylor was no friend of the worker. Taylor believed in time motion studies. He was an engineer, and he would put a stopwatch on a person, and he did this particularly at the Ford Motor Company when Henry Ford was around. And if a worker was slow, he would come behind you with a stopwatch, figure out how long it took you for you to do your job, and then he would work with you to figure out ways of making you quicker and more efficient. And Ford loved him because he did increase productivity. And part of the reward was to give bonuses and raises to workers, but they couldn't keep people. They were paying upwards of $5 an hour way back in the turn of the century back then. And that's big money. But one of the things that they had them do that Taylor believed and other researchers after him believed is that if you do one thing, you're going to become an expert in it. And as such, you're going to be a expert. You're going to be more efficient than the competition. You're going to be more effective. When you get it all down and learn your job and you know everything about it, then no one is going to be able to outproduce you. And that's pretty much the truth. But the problem with that approach is that if you're doing one thing over and over and over again, every day, all day, it's going to drive you crazy. And that's what it was doing with the employees. There was absenteeism, people quit. Even with that high of a salary, people just could not stand to do the same thing over and over and over again, that just constant repetition. So we evolved from the traditional approach to what we see here as the human relations approach. And this assumes that employees' needs outweigh money, and that fostering favorable employee attitudes, such as involvement, as you see here, results in motivation. Now, here's where we started to work into the workplace the idea of worker involvement, getting them involved, empowerment, decision making. And we started to allow the worker to have more of a say-so, on the production line and in the departments. And then from there, we move to the human resource approach. And that means that the belief here is that people want to make genuine contributions. Managers should encourage their participation by providing the proper work environment conditions. Now, this is a revolutionary ideology in as much as management realized that, hey, if we just leave the people alone, if we motivate them, if we train them and encourage them and provide the proper work environment, they're going to do a good job. We don't have to stand over them with a stopwatch. We don't have to micromanage them. We don't have to necessarily motivate them with tangible rewards. If we give them the proper support that they need, they're going to naturally do a good job. Now, when it comes to self-efficacy, and self-efficacy is the level of comfort that you have and confidence that you have in yourself. And self-efficacy involves three dimensions, as you see here. The first one is magnitude, and that's the belief about how difficult a task can be accomplished. For instance, how hard is it going to be for me to rise up to frontline supervisor, for instance? So you're going to take a look at the difficulty of doing a job or obtaining a position. For you, you had to assess how difficult it's going to be to get your degree. So if you believe that the magnitude is not overwhelming, then you're going to take a look at strength. And strengths are the belief about how confident the person is that the task can be accomplished. Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in your ability to be able to accomplish the task at hand? And then generality comes into play. And that's the belief about the degree to which similar tasks can be accomplished. You know, if I can do a bachelor's degree, if I can graduate with that, then chances are I can go on to get my master's degree. And you see from there, people will be motivated to go further and to pursue more involvement and responsibilities. Now, the need-based perspective on motivation. Now, there are needs-based theories of motivation that assume that needs deficiency cause behavior, and one of the prominent people that has talked about this is a guy named Abraham Maslow. And Maslow believed in what we call the hierarchy of needs. And he assumes that human needs are arranged in a hierarchy of importance. First of all, you have the basic needs, which are physiological needs. And physiological needs means food, clothing, shelter. Security needs, which is your safety and health. Belongingness needs, which the old saying goes, people want to love and be loved. And then you have growth needs. Here you have self-esteem, where people want to feel good about themselves. They want to have a high level of ability or belief in their abilities and so forth. And then you have self-actualization. And self-actualization, according to Maslow, is the pinnacle of it all. Here you have realized your full potential. So there's really nothing else that you can accomplish because you have done it all. And there's really no room left for improvement. Well, we know that that's impossible, because once you have reached one goal, you create other goals for yourself. So that's how God created us, to keep growing. Now, the last slide we're going to look at today is the hierarchy of needs. And you see here the physiological needs. These are the base needs. And as the pyramid goes higher, as needs go higher, the amount or the scope becomes smaller. The largest needs that you're going to have to worry about are the physiological needs. That may mean base salary. That may mean other things that provide just your survival needs. Then security needs. What about job security? and pension plans and so forth. Belongingness needs. This is to be able to form good relationships at work. There are people who will take a lower salary just to be able to work in a friendly, positive environment. And then you have esteem needs, which go along and are associated with job title. As you move up and as your status moves up, then you become more emboldened. You feel better about yourself. You become more motivated. And then self-actualization, and that's achievement. And it can come with challenging jobs or what have you, but we are always looking to continue on with a desire to meet whatever needs that we have. Now, the thing about Maslow is that he didn't believe you could go from the physiological needs to the security needs until all of the physiological needs have been met. He's a typical what we call stage theorist. So a stage theorist believes that you have to fully satisfy the level that you're in before you can move on to the next one. If my physiological needs are not met, then I can't move on and worry about benefits. If I'm not making enough money to even buy groceries and pay the rent, then I'm not going to worry too much about a pension plan over here. If my job is not paying enough, or if I don't have enough just coming in to survive, then the job title, that's not going to matter a whole lot to me. So each level has to be fully satisfied before you can move on to the next step. What does this mean in management and motivation? That means you need to understand how your employees are living, how they survive, are they happy, are they fulfilled, so that they can move on. And if they are making a living and living comfortably with the pay and environment and all of that, then you can start focusing on their security needs. Are your security needs being met? And if not, then you can develop strategies that will help them to fulfill that. And then you, as a manager, you need to make sure that their belongingness needs are being fulfilled. That means making sure that they are in a friendly atmosphere where they are being encouraged, and there is an atmosphere of encouragement among the people. And then you want to make sure that you're identifying people who are promotable so that they can fulfill their esteem needs or status needs. And you want to make everything challenging for them. You don't want to give them an easy ride, but then again, you don't want to make their goals and objectives impossible to reach. So there's a balancing act there that you have to be able to satisfy between what you need and what they need, and be able to accommodate both of those ends. But this is just one of the models that we're going to be looking at this week when it comes to motivation. But as you can see, I want you to, probably in the first forum, I want you to take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I want you to translate that into what you're needing right now. What are some physiological needs that you would have in the workplace, having read the material? What are some security needs that you would have? What are the belongingness needs or esteem needs and self-actualization needs? I want you to, this week, in the first forum, to be able to go in and take a look at this hierarchy of needs and relate it to you, your life and what you're trying to do right now in life. Some may have more of an impact on you than others. You may already have your physiological needs met, and that's all well and good. But where would you believe that you are right now when it comes to this hierarchy? Are you still trying to make ends meet? Are you still trying to make security needs a part of your priority? Are you in the belongingness level? What about esteem? Some of you may be already up there and just looking for a higher level of responsibility. and then maybe self-actualization. So indicate where you are and what you need to be able to move to the next level, and we'll discuss a little bit more of motivation when we get back tomorrow. And you're going to see there's a lot of these motivation models that really look similar and play off of each other. So we'll go ahead and finish up tomorrow. Well, we'll take a look at some more of these models tomorrow, and then we'll finish up on Thursday. Today we saw some basic definitions of motivation, and we also took a look at one of the fundamental models of motivation, and that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now we're going to take a look a little bit later on tomorrow and Thursday at some more types of models for motivation, but I want you today to go into the forum and just relate your experiences and compare that to what Maslow has to say about the hierarchy of needs. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.